NBA props, NHL props, UFC 299. We've got the NHL trade deadline. We've got injuries galore in the NBA, and we've got a massive pay-per-view for you in the UFC. We're going to go over all the props and get you ready for a profitable weekend, starting with tonight's games. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com, being joined as always by Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. Andrew, let's just jump right in and get some NHL talk going. Not a huge slate of games tonight, but obviously over the weekend we're going to have a lot to talk about. So I guess the first thing I want to that I want to talk about is are the Penguins under team total the new Blackhawks team total under? Is this going to be we just start riding the Penguins and fade this? Because this is every sport. When trade deadline comes, you know who's buyers and sellers, and sometimes we get crazy advantages and crazy opportunities in the betting market. What's your take on the Penguins? I mean, are they just blowing it up, and is this an absolute fade for now?
And yeah, as someone from the far east coast of Canada, it's sad to see Sidney Crosby left with not much help with him right now. Losing Jake Gensel, that pretty much is them, waving the white flag around, and it already wasn't going very well. I mean, last night, my free play of the day recorded on Wager Talk TV was over 6.5 Washington-Pittsburgh. Well, Washington did their part. They scored 6 goals, but Pittsburgh didn't get one. I mean, I'm happy that was a free play, but at the same time, you want to hit those plays as well, man. And that, thought I did my part with getting one team to 6, but yeah, you're right. The team total unders. Certainly, I think you can start looking at certain teams to fade, like Anaheim. I'm interested even in some teams that are in the playoffs right now for looking at their team total unders, seeing if they can continue to win low-scoring games as well. But Andy, yeah, the trade deadline, man, unbelievable. Carolina finally makes their big splash. Dallas makes moves. Vegas makes moves. Seeing some teams that really needed that extra push gather a few key players, and the Florida Panthers. It's not like they really needed much help, but they go ahead and get Vladimir Tarasenko. They're going to be very dangerous, but we'll jump into the futures market in a few moments here. But what I wanted to mention today, which I've talked about on Prop It Up before, is just the assist market. I mean, to me, you've been talking about a lot about players to or to not get a point. And, I've been looking at players to get a point and things, but the assist to me is just so great because what it does is gives you the opportunity, guys, to make money off a fantastic player or fade a certain player and just get a much better price off it. And I think Mikko Rantanen's probably the perfect example of that for the Colorado Avalanche. Nobody is looking at his assist prop, right? People think of Mikko Rantanen. They probably don't think of a playmaker. They might not think of the best passer in the world. But what's so great, if you have so much talent surrounding you, if you have so many players that are so great at finishing off plays, goal scoring abilities around you on your team, then you're going to just get assists. If your team gets 2 or 3 power play opportunities a game and you score on one, guess what? The chances are Rantanen probably touched the puck before that puck went in and someone else scored, so he gets the assist. He has an assist in 9 of his last 10 games, and it's only minus 120. Now, if you want him to get a point, well, you better be prepared to pay minus 215, Andy, which is just a crazy difference for the guy to get a point versus to get an assist. But on the contrary, you can also get some guys under on their assists as well. And I know that's the market that you like to tap in, Andy, going against certain guys. And for me, I would look at some guys on the Dallas Stars because they do have a lot of different players that, make plays. But at the same time, it seems to be a lot of solo efforts. So I'm looking at guys like Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, like they're guys that are big names, but it seems to me when they score goals, it's like one guy gets the puck, makes a real nice move and shoots that for himself. And I know that people get mad a little bit about the stat corrections and how the NHL grades certain things, but put it this way. If you're going up the ice, Andy, I pass over to you, and then you go ahead and make a bunch of moves, circle the net 5 times, and then score. It's no longer an assist for me. You have to score within a few moments of me actually passing you the puck. So you can go across certain teams, and I will say that as much as last week on Prop It Up, I mentioned you can kind of bet on props on these bad teams because you know who's going to score. You can also bet who's not going to score as well on some of these bad teams like Montreal, like Anaheim, like Columbus. Try and find some of their better named players and go under on their assist prop. You can certainly make some money with that.
Yeah, you know me. I love betting on players to not do things and to not have points. It's worked out really well. We've hit 65% of the bets. Um, there was a valuable lesson last night, Andrew, which was I always take these players to not have a point. And you know I've been talking and writing Evander Kane to not have a point. I was 3-1 on just taking him to not have a point. And I laid off of him last night because he had a bad matchup, and it was against Columbus. And what's crazy is, I mean, how many parlays did that game sink last night? Columbus taking out Edmonton. I'm pretty sure Edmonton was in everyone's. But he had a great track record against the Blue Jackets. Well, I mean, everyone has a great track record against Columbus this year. But laid off because it's a bad opponent, and he has a good track record. They only scored 2 goals, and there's Evander Kane with a point. So because I was taking into account the track record against the opponent and the quality of the opponent, we were able to avoid that one. The other guy that I have been writing for big parts of the season was Tom Wilson. But again, you could see the writing on the wall with Pittsburgh, and sure enough, Washington just lays the hammer on him, and Tom Wilson scores a point. So I laid off of 2 bets last night that could have easily turned into losers just by really looking at the opponent and the situation. So when we're looking at these props, you're almost looking for reasons to not play them. And if you can find certain reasons to not go in on a prop, I promise you're going to save money in the long term. Just really, really getting very, very picky with your spots and getting very, very specific with some of them. So I will tell you another guy that I laid off that I think this guy's going to be a good one moving forward is Braden Shen. I mean, this Blues team is not scoring very many goals. They only scored 1 against the Devils, and the Devils give up a lot of goals. So he did not have a point. I think Braden Shen's going to be one guy that I ride kind of hard in the future here. I hope Mrs. Shen is not upset that I ride Braden Shen hard in the future. No, I'm kidding. But no, yeah. So when you're looking at some of these teams in the NHL that are kind of throwing in the towel and they're just not going to be scoring many goals, there's so many opportunities on, like you said, guys to not have assists, guys to not have points. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on some of these teams that have given up and seeing if we can take advantage in the near future before the books adjust these lines. You mentioned futures. Now that we have some clarity of which teams are really going for it and which teams are not, were there any futures that you looked at that you think the books are kind of not real sure of, or there's really good value for us?
Andy, I'm not just saying this because Carolina was the team that was able to land Jake Gensel, but they have never really made a splash at the trade deadline. They've always been an off-season team. And I've seen all kinds of people tweeting, like, how many times has a team actually made a trade deadline pickup and that guy was the difference? And I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But at the same time, you're getting me 8-1 now on this Carolina Hurricanes team that has the experience to get there, that has the experience in the postseason. They've got depth. They've got 4 lines that play. They've got defensemen. They've got physicality. They have goaltending that's starting to get much better here. And, you think back to the Tampa Bay Lightning when they were on their tear, right? I mean, they were like the NHL's version of the Golden State Warriors at one point. A lot of people don't realize they had to lose many times in the postseason before they had their success. In fact, the first year of COVID, Andy, during the bubble, the Columbus Blue Jackets swept the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because in the NHL, it just takes so many failures sometimes for teams in order to get over that line. And, you take a look at some teams, even like the Washington Capitals, Alexander Ovechkin, it took him so long to get his first Stanley Cup ring. In fact, he is so excited he partied all the way until, well, I think he's still partying after getting that first Stanley Cup. I mean, the guy was so satisfied. So my point being here is this Carolina team, I just think is being a little bit underrated. They are one of the top 4 favorites, of course, but 8-1, I believe, is a really nice price there for this Carolina team in the Eastern Conference. If they stay healthy, they will be extremely dangerous. And another team I wanted to look at, I mean, throwing this out here, Andy, I've talked about this team a ton. And I think that we're looking at throwing out the word value here, as everyone likes to use that magical V word. I think that the LA Kings at 22-1 are a great bet to make and lock in right now. I mean, we've seen it get high as 14, 15, 18. We're here at 22-1. Here's the deal, Andy. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to compete in the first round. And the teams that they're playing, which I think is most likely going to be Vancouver, they've already defeated this year. I mean, so you're going to give me 22-1. Vancouver is 12-1. So from the futures market, some of these teams that I'm seeing right now, the prices you're getting on them, and some of these moves that they've made. I mean, I like teams that have made moves that not necessarily are superstar players, but are guys in the third and fourth line. Like Edmonton went out and picked up 2 players from Anaheim that maybe the casual hockey fan might not even know who they are, but they're going to make a difference to their team. And just really quick here, Andy, I wanted to do a quick update for people. I mentioned on the show about Vezina Trophy winners on pretty much, it might have been the week after football season ended, to take Connor Hellebuck to win as the best goaltender in the league. He was minus 150, Andy. He is now minus 320 to finish with the best goalie in the league. So I'm super excited about that. But I will say the Calder Trophy, Connor Bedard's running away with it. The Jack Adams, Rick Tocchet is running away with it. The only one that is really an absolute battle right now is the Hart Trophy, the MVP, and it's a battle between Nathan MacKinnon and Austin Matthews. And I'm still going to say, even though I'm always rooting for MacKinnon, I think that there's a real good shot that Austin Matthews could get it, because he scores goals in spurts, right? He won't score for a couple games, but then he'll score like 4 goals in 2 games. And for what he brings to his team, I think what hurts MacKinnon a little bit in the MVP race is that a lot of times the guys around him perform better consistently than the guys around Matthews. I think that if MacKinnon had a few bad games in a row, it wouldn't hurt the Avalanche as much as it would hurt the Maple Leafs if Matthews had a few bad games in a row, if that makes sense. And Andy, that's kind of what the MVP is, right? So Matthews is plus 195 for the MVP. Thought it was worth mentioning there. But LA and Carolina, 2 teams I think we're sprinkling on right now for futures.
Like it. There's only 4 games in NHL tonight. I'll give out one NHL play that I believe. I don't know if it's going to make my card or not. It's a great play. I love it. I just have a couple of other plays up in other sports. I'm not sure I want to be overexposed with as many units out there. But Jaden Schwartz to not have a point, Andrew. He's not quite getting it done very much, and it's only minus 145 to not have a point. He has a point like every 5 games, and he had one 2 games ago. And he played Winnipeg last game, and they beat Winnipeg 4-3, but he didn't have a point in that game. Now it's a back-to-back situation. I like when these back-to-back situations comes up because these teams are kind of familiar with each other, and like I feel like they're a little bit low scoring. So this game is at Seattle, and Winnipeg, obviously one of the better defensive teams. You know, they allowed 4 to Seattle, but before that 2 to Buffalo, only 3 to Carolina. So they can really lock down some teams. So Jaden Schwartz to not have a point, he only has 2 points since the beginning of February. So it's like this play is like 2 games with a point, like 12 games, I believe, without a point. So if you're taking some of these props, what I do is I make sure I pick guys that I can play multiple games in a row. I'm not just looking for a one-off situation with it. So, you know, when we talk about the lazy line of the week video, which will be coming out later today, we're not looking for it like where it's like, okay, this guy, play it tonight and then forget it. No, we want like a 3 and 4 game stretch where we can play it. I'm looking for these streaks that you could go 4-1, or you can go 5-2, 6-2 on them. So I think Jaden Schwartz is going to be a really, really enticing guy to not have a point. It's not a Seattle team that scores a bunch of goals night in and night out, and he's just kind of not getting it done. Winnipeg, number 1. So it might be a good night to start fading Jaden Schwartz to not have a point. Any other props or any other players that you were looking to focus on moving forward in the NHL, Andrew?
Andy, well, I think looking at this Florida Panthers team once again, I hate to kind of just go after the new guy, but you and I always talk about guys that the books aren't really noticing, right? Whether they trade teams, they move up in the lineup, they're getting more minutes, a player might be out. I think that if you're looking at Florida Panthers games, you should be locking in Vladimir Tarasenko to get a point or to do something strong, because what's happening is he's getting traded to a team that's already so strong, that's already playing so well. And where is he coming from? The Ottawa Senators, who is not very good team. They don't really score many goals. They aren't very exciting. So based on what he's done in Ottawa, the bookmakers were like, this guy's not very good this year. This guy's having a bad year, right? Well, you put anybody on the Ottawa Senators, they might not have a great year, but you put them on the Florida Panthers, they're going to step their game up. So I would look towards that a little bit. As far as tonight is concerned, I think that I would be looking at Josh Morrissey over his assist. That's one that actually might make the client card for me. I always talk about defensemen that I'm interested in betting on just because you get a way better price. Why bet Morrissey to get a point when you can just bet his assist? I'm sorry. The guy's not scoring a goal. Okay. This guy, if he's going to get involved, he's going to get an assist. And, the point prop is way worse price than this assist prop. You're going to get plus 100 here. Josh Morrissey versus Seattle, as you were just talking about that matchup there, and it's plus 100. So 7 of his last 10 games, he has recorded an assist. And I love those power play guys. You're getting guys out there on the power play. They're feeding the wingers for one-timers, for slap shots. I think it's a good bet tonight.
Love that one. We're going to also talk a little NBA and UFC. Real quick, guys, if you could, please hit the like button and leave us a comment. Tell us what props you've been hitting the last week or so. I always love hearing what's working in the props betting market. Tell us what props you like moving forward. We got a huge UFC 299 card. I know Jim in the chat has stuff locked and loaded. Shout out to Jim. Cashed on PFL Europe yesterday with his best bet he sent over to me. And then, Andrew, did you see how the main event in PFL Europe got stopped yesterday? Never seen anything like that in my life. Never seen anything like that in my life. A guy who was on his way to winning got a splinter in his foot and tried to call timeout in the middle of a fight, and that's ruled a TKO. So he lost because of a splinter. I never it wiped out so many people's bets and parlays and things. Oh, what a crazy nightmare. And me, Andrew, I'm a former official. I'm defending the ref on that one. I know everyone was mad at him, but he actually did the right call. He went by the book. I know everyone's frustrated, but I'm here to defend the official because you can't call timeout in the middle of a UFC fight. So that's a knockout. So so what do we have up at WagerTalk.com? You can use the promo code Andy25. Gets 25% off a package of your choice. You could do 3 days, you could do 7 days, 30 days, a year. At least get a 3-day pack. I have a 5% play that's up for tonight. It's my first one in the NBA all season. It jumped off the page. And we have a 5% in the UFC tomorrow. We also have a 4% lacrosse play. Lacrosse has been on fire this year. I believe we are on a 10-3 run in lacrosse. And we also have another 4% UFC play. So you get 2 5% plays and 2 4% plays. It's just how the plays and the schedule worked out. So you can use the promo code Andy25. It gets 25% off. At least get a 3-day pass so you can get all those plays locked in. We're up 17 units this year. We're up 91 units in 2023. And don't forget, we got a Formula One race as well. So a lot of plays coming up over the next couple days. Promo code Andy25 gets 25% off. We'll move to NBA, but Andrew, tell everyone where we can find you at and what you have up at WagerTalk.
Andy, 2 great deals going right now. One is a promo code, and that is Andrew75. Andrew75 takes $75 off a 30-day all sports pass. And why not do all sports right now with the NBA, with NHL, with UFC, with MLB starting? And speaking of MLB, 3-1 in MLB spring training. I have really, really picked my spots in that so far. But hey, we're profitable. I have a great deal going right now. Start of the season until the All-Star break. So if you guys don't want to get on board for the entire season, but you want to get the first half of the season, you can go right to my profile page, get the first half of the season in the MLB. And for tonight, quiet night for me in the NHL. Already looking at some big plays for tomorrow in the NHL, but on a 70% totals run for the last 2 weeks here in the NHL. Try and keep that going, Andy.
I just have a question about you on NHL on Saturdays. I'm on the fence about this strategy. You know me, just give me a little bit of profit every day and I'll be happy. I don't normally have a bunch of plays up. I'm pretty low volume. The way the schedule works out in the NHL, you have early games, then you've got some like middle afternoon games, then you have like later games. You ever think about like just if you have a best bet in the early game, just putting that one up, and if it hits, you're done for the day and not even worrying about the afternoon or the later games? Or do you just say, no, these are the best plays that I have all day. It doesn't matter what time the games are. I'm just putting them up. I don't have a strong opinion, but I've noticed it on Saturdays. I was like, man, if there's a play that I love at the 12:30 game, why not just put that one up? And if it hits, I'm done for the day. No stress the rest of the day. What's your thoughts or opinion on that one?
It's nice when it works out that way. Lately, I actually just haven't been having strong opinions on those games. Weirdly, and I just haven't really loved those early games, which is funny. But no, you're right, Andy. The way they set it up, it's hockey day. People are looking forward to watching hockey throughout the afternoon, evening, at night. And the playoffs will be the exact same way. But you're right. You can certainly, cash a winning ticket by 3:00 Eastern time, and you're good as far as your NHL betting for the day. And I will say, because I know you'll be happy to hear this, Andy, when I say that there's a good card tomorrow and I'm looking forward to it already, it's not me saying I'm going to dive in with 8 or 9 plays. It's just me having more options to find that best bet is kind of what I'm saying there. And, it's been funny because I'll have people message me and be like, hey, Andrew, what else we got going on tonight? I'm just like, this is it. This is the 4% play. And this is the one. And I think that's the thing about these big cards is that, sure, sometimes on a Wednesday night slate with 3 games, Andy, I will find something I like as well. But if you see a 10-game slate and you find 1 or 2 plays you like, it's the same thing as seeing a 4-game slate and finding 1 or 2 plays you like. I think you just had more to choose from, right? You don't have to make 6 or 7 bets because there's 13 games.
Yeah, and that's the key. It has to be a play that you love in the early games. I didn't mean just like force some nonsensical play and hope it hits. I mean, if there's a play you really love, instead of putting in all plays throughout the day, do you just, well, I'll start with the early one. If I turn a profit, I'm good for the day. If it loses, okay, I can come back and, play it later on in the day to try and break even. So yeah, obviously bet responsibly, but it's something I noticed. I love the Saturday schedule for NHL. Like a lot of sports could it's very similar to college football. You get your early games, they wrap up. You get your afternoon game. Some of these other sports, some of the start times just make no sense. So, a couple of props here in the NBA. Here, there's a guy on Orlando, Gary Harris. He's getting into that zone where the books keep putting up 1.5 made 3-pointers, and he keeps landing on 2. So he's gone over 1.5 3-pointers, and he's hit it 7 games in a row. 5 of them he's landed right on 2. The other game he had 4 and 3, and you're only getting minus 132. And there's another spot where the New York Knicks, for the season, they rank high in defense. But you got to remember, there's no Julius Randle, there's no OG. Jalen Brunson is hurt. Even if he does play, there's no way he's going to be 100%. So Gary Harris is a guy that's on a really nice streak on his over 1.5 3-pointers. And this has been a category that I've done well on. And this has been a number that I've done well on. I love this 1.5 made 3-pointers. Because if the books bump it up to 2.5, you just come right back on the under. And we saw it with LeBron James. We saw it with Victor Wembanyama. We've seen it with Austin Reeves. There's these players where the books keep putting out 1.5 3-pointers, and we can take advantage of that. So Gary Harris is a kind of a sneaky one under the radar here. And there's another guy, Buddy Hield. I love Buddy Hield. He was really good for the Indiana Pacers. I was bummed when they traded him, but he's gone to Philadelphia. This poor Philly team. So Tyrese Maxey is now out with a concussion. I'm worried about this one, Andrew. They didn't take him out of the game because of a concussion. It popped up after the game, and he's missed the last couple. I'm worried he may be out for a little bit longer. And so you've got all these points and all these rebounds and all these assists that there's no Embiid and there's no Tyrese Maxey. But a guy that has not been getting it done is Buddy Hield, and they keep putting his lines way too high and he keeps going under. So, for example, they're putting his 3-pointers at 3.5. Well, he's gone under in 7 straight games, and he's landed on 3 every single time. Making 4 3-pointers in a game is a big, big ask. And I know there's no Maxi, but he's just not getting it done. His shot attempts are down a little bit. His minutes are down a little bit because when he first got to Philly, they were playing him a ton. Also, his points, he's gone under his points in 7 games in a row. He's gone under his points, rebounds, and assists in 7 games in a row. So the books are inflating this number, and he just has not been getting it done. He's barely coming under. I would look at the 3-pointers on Buddy Hield. They keep putting up this 3.5. It's just, you have to shoot an insanely high percentage, and you have to shoot a lot of them to get to 4 made 3-pointers. It's a tall ask. And he's a starter, so if you get a blowout situation and he doesn't play in the fourth quarter, it's even harder. So Buddy Hield under his 3-pointers and Gary Harris are a couple guys I would look at. Gary Harris over 1.5 threes, Buddy Hield in the NBA. 5% play is up in NBA, but again, if you use that promo code, you get all the plays for tonight. So, Andrew, I know you don't do much in the NBA. If you have any NBA, go ahead and mention it, but you want to talk a little UFC 299 here?
I do, and Andy, just want to wish you best of luck on that 5% play tonight. Guys, go grab that. I'm following along with Andy. I will be betting that one with him as well.
Let's go.
Let me start things off by saying that I think I'm the contrarian here, Andy, with the main event. I think it goes under. I think the fight goes under 4.5, and I also think that it's going to end with a knockout. You know, look, all I was called was a casual, was the betting public, all those square, whatever those names were, when I liked O'Malley against Aljo. And look what happened. He caught him. And I'm not, saying that's going to happen as easily as it happened in that one. But I think this fight's either going to backfire big time for O'Malley or he's going to catch Cheeto. And the fact is, these guys didn't fight yesterday. They fought a little while ago, to put it lightly here, Andy. I think O'Malley has changed a little bit. Cheeto has changed a little bit. And I think that Cheeto's not going to just be passive. I don't think that he's going to wait until the 3rd or 4th round to start making moves, because O'Malley is still a good fighter as far as accumulating points. Although he's a knockout artist and has that great one punch, he still is able to use his length, keep distance, and accumulate points with his jabs. And he's not a bad submission, but I think he wants to stay on his feet. So when I look at this fight, I think we're going to see a Cheeto that might catch people off guard a little bit and be a little bit over aggressive. And you know how O'Malley is when he has that step back punch, like he can kind of look like he's dodging you and then come up with the play. I can get plus 240 on O'Malley inside the distance. I kind of like that one, but if you want to play it safe, under 4.5 is plus 120 on DraftKings. I'm interested in that one, and keeping it with the totals here, Andy, with the Blades and Almeida, I like the over in that one, over 1.5 rounds. It's kind of like the opposite. It's kind of like what I was saying when you and I were talking NBA last week, right? I like looking at the point guards, rebounds, and the centers with their assists. Well, the heavyweights to go over, when everybody likes to bet the under on heavyweights, but it's priced accordingly. It's at 1.5, and you're getting still a decent number, I'd say, on this one. I think both guys are going to be cautious. There's going to be a lot of grappling in this one. Wouldn't be surprised if this one actually got to the ground a little bit. And you look at Almeida's fights, we haven't seen all of them end early, and the stiffer the competition has gotten, the more it's been a little bit longer into the fight where things have happened. And look at Curtis Blades. All I hear from people, and maybe I shouldn't listen to all the analysts, but say this guy doesn't have the power. This guy doesn't have that one punch. He needs to accumulate a ton of punches in order to get somebody out of there. So over 1.5 in that one in the heavyweight matchup this weekend, I think is a great one.
I will do the unthinkable here, Andrew. I'm going to get crushed on this one. And if it loses in spectacular fashion, which it absolutely could, I will look like a moron. If it wins, I will look like the genius of all geniuses. I am going to bet not only on Josh Parisian, I'm going to bet on him to win by finish. And I can get plus 370. This guy he's fighting is a 6'8" behemoth. The guy is a monster. He has fought absolutely nobody. Like he's fought 3 of his 4 fights were against guys who have fought one time, and that was against him. And 3 of them have like retired since then. So he's beat up these guys. He's beat up you and me. That's the level of competition. His last fight lasted 3 seconds. The fight before that lasted 4 seconds. How do we know how good this guy actually is? And as bad as Josh Parisian is, Josh Parisian has over 20 professional fights. He has absolutely no striking, but he can wrestle. We have not seen this Taekwondo guy wrestle. All we've seen him do is come out and hit people really hard one time. We have not seen any adversity from him. And what if he hits Parisian and Parisian doesn't just go down and Parisian wraps him up and takes him on the ground? Well, first off, there's no way this fight's going the distance. I mean, under 1.5 is minus 315. So we know it's not going the distance, but there's a chance that this Rebellis Despoti comes out and it just turns out he's not very good. It turns out he's beaten up a couple of parking lot attendants, and that's it. And once he fights an actual UFC fighter, he gets exposed. He looks bad. So I'm sprinkling plus 370 on Josh Parisian. Nobody expects it to hit, and
I love
we've
it.
seen this in UFC. These overhyped guys who just aren't UFC ready yet. They look great on film, but when it comes down to it, they can't wrestle, and they get taken down, and they just look like a turtle on the ground. So yeah, I'm taking Parisian by finish. You can get that at plus 370. I'm also yeah. Now let's go talk about complete opposite fights. Let's talk Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis. You can get a little slightly different caliber of talent in this fight, Andrew. I'm going under 2.5 rounds. You can get this at like minus 110, minus 115. I'm stunned that you can get the under on a Benoit Saint Denis fight. This guy's an animal, and he is a kill or be killed guy. And I am really surprised that the sharps have not pushed this line more towards Dustin Poirier. More money's coming in on Saint Denis. And when you look, Dustin Poirier has absorbed a lot of punishment recently. He had that vicious head kick loss against Gagey. That was an absolute war he had against Michael Chandler. And this guy is no spring chicken. He's been around for a while. He's been in some really violent, big fights. And you got Benoit Saint Denis, who is he's on the way up. He has not absorbed nearly the amount of punishment that Poirier has. And I looked at them at the press conference. God, Saint Denis is so big for this division. He's so big. And when the fight actually starts, he's going to be bigger. I think he's going to shoot in, and he's either going to get caught or he's going to be able to get Poirier down and land vicious ground and pound and get the finish. Either way, I am really, really happy to play this under 2.5. I think this is a very, very violent fight, as Saint Denis fights have been. I mean, the beating he put on Thiago Moises was insane, and he just keeps doing it. He took out Bonfim. They're just violent fights. I have faith that Saint Denis is going to turn this into an absolute war. I just don't see how it makes it into the over 2.5. So I'll take the under at a price that I am stunned, absolutely stunned that this line is close to even. So I like your Sean. Yeah, I like your Sean O'Malley and Vera play. That's definitely contrarian. And in these main events, man, contrarian wins. Contrarian wins all the time in these main events, especially on the pay-per-view. So good stuff there.
Definitely. Andy, I've noticed a big change of the guard, man, lately. Just a huge change of the guard in some of these. I'm not saying Volkanovski's just like he's done and things like that, but maybe he's been taking too many fights. Maybe he regretted taking that second Islam fight. But some of these veteran fighters, some of these guys that have been around the block, they're getting caught. And I think that you mentioned about DP going under. I think that's the way to go. Whether he wins or he loses, that fight those guys would have to take so much damage and survive for that fight to go over the total. I mean, it would have to be an absolute massacre because we know someone's getting stopped. So I like that one quite a bit. I'm with you on that one. What are your thoughts? We're talking about contrarian plays, but let's talk about a chalk parlay here. Okay. Song Yadong, Peter Yan over 2.5. Okay. And then the Josh Parisian
Mm-hmm.
fight under 1.5 rounds, I'm seeing minus 130 on that. I think those are two fights.
Ooh.
That one goes under and that one goes over. I can't see either one going the other way.
So, of course, I'm with you on the Parisian and Rebellis fight. I don't see a world in which that gets out of the first round. To be honest with you, someone's going to sleep or in that one, either getting KO'd or getting choked out on the ground. So, yeah, it goes to Yan and Song Yadong. Yeah, over 2.5. I mean, Song Yadong, his striking is really good. It obviously can be, tough. I thought his fight against Ricky Simon was like an amazing performance. Ricky Simon's a legit, really good fighter, and he gets the knockout late in that fight. So I thought that was good. But again, it was late. He had to soften up Ricky Simon for like 5 rounds, and he's not going to be able to do that against Yan. Yeah, I would expect Yan to close the distance. Yeah, obviously the only thing you're worried about that is some kind of flash knockout. I wouldn't expect it to come from Yan. So really, you're just the one thing you got to worry about would be Song Yadong catching Yan, but it's tough. Knocking out Peter Yan, that would be a tough one. I like that. So yeah, you're going Yan and Song Yadong over 2.5, and you're parlaying that with the under 1.5. I'm with you. On that one. I absolutely can get behind it. So it's a pretty bettable UFC card if you dig deep into some of those props that aren't on everybody's radar. Like, there's not a lot of money line favorites that I like. I think you could. I mean, my God, the Joanne Wood, Marina Moroz, you have an OnlyFans theory versus a retirement theory. You have both
You know
fighters
which one
ready
we
to
should
move
fade,
on.
though, right? The retirement theory is just I like fading the retirement one, honestly. I like that. I like fading that one.
Okay, so you're on Moroz. Yeah, it's two competing theories that have been very profitable. As soon as a fighter starts an OnlyFans, like, you're done. But then, yeah, fighting in retirement. These are two titans meeting, the OnlyFans theory and the retirement theory. You're right. The retirement theory, I think it's only happened twice. I think the
Is
retirement.
Habib the last guy to retire and win? Habib might be the last guy to retire after a win, isn't he? Or who was it?
Well, didn't Lawler just do it? Jim, you're in the chat.
Okay.
Wasn't it Lawler? I think it was Lawler that got the knockout over that bum, and I lost on that one because I was doing the retirement theory on that one, and yes, it absolutely was. So I believe it's only happened twice in UFC history. So the history would be on your side on that one. So guys, if you're interested in NHL plays, go check out Andrew at WagerTalk.com. One more time, Andrew, tell everyone what you have up and what you got going on this weekend.
Andy, just a great special right now. Andrew 75, Andrew 75 takes $75 off a 30-day all-access pass. We're getting going with the MLB. I will be releasing some MLB win total plays this weekend for the upcoming season. You can get the first half of my season for a great price over at wt.buzz/AM. Get all my plays this weekend, though. We're involved in NBA and the NHL.
Love it. Use the promo code Andy25 for myself. Gets 25% off any pass. At least get a 3-day pass. There are 2 5% plays up and available at WagerTalk. We don't do very many of these, so to have 2 in back-to-back days is very, very rare. It's my first 5% NBA play of the season. So these don't come out very often. On a 6-3 run in NBA, hit our last 3. So we're on a 3-0 perfect stretch, and we've hit our last 2 UFC 5% plays each of the last 2 weekends. We have another one there. Don't bother getting each of the packages. Just take 25% off a 3-day pass, and it gets you all of them. It's a steal. So promo code Andy25, 25% off. Having a great run in February and a start to March. So we're up 17 units already this year. Trying to break that plus 91 units we had last year. I think we're on pace, and I'm looking forward to adding to the bankrolls this weekend. No better time to take advantage than we have the promo code Andy25. That is going to do it for us, guys, on Prop It Up. Make sure you please hit the like button and leave us a comment. Tell us what plays you're looking forward to for this weekend, and tell us what props you've been winning on. I know we had a really good one in the chat talking about Rossi over 1.5 shots on goal for the Minnesota Wild. Leave those in the chat. I love finding these props that I've missed and are off the radar. So I love hearing what you guys are winning on. So make sure you leave that in the comment section. Good luck on all your plays, and we will see everyone next week on another episode of Prop It Up.